Second scrimmage of the fall is tomorrow. What we want to see.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Longhorns, the show. Jonathan Davis, Lacey Butler, your host. Today's episode of Locked On Longhorns brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Playoffs wind down. Sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, heading into the fall, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, second scrimmage of the fall tomorrow, what me and Lacey want to see or hear. I suppose we won't be there. In the second segment, fall weddings is a big topic, huge topic right now. Some people are super in favor, or I want to say super in favor. People are fighting for the right to have fall weddings, and there's some diehard college football fans that think fall weddings are of the devil, right? So we discussed that in the second segment. And then in the last segment, you can't really see it. 5 Texas Longhorns football players have made ESPN's top 100 heading into the season. Our biggest reactions to that, all of that and more on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Yes, it is Friday. I'm glad it's Friday. Like Glorilla said, it's Friday. You know what I'm saying? Thank God it's Friday, right? It's not 7 p.m. yet. You know what I mean? But
not
it's
yet.
Friday. You know?
It needs to be.
Yeah, for sure. Glad we made it to the weekend, I suppose. I guess it's still early on Friday, but it's here, a chance to unwind, put our feet up for a little bit and relax, just for a little bit. If you think about it, in 2 weeks or so, you won't be relaxing on Saturdays because you'll be stressed about the Texas Longhorns, your favorite football team. But we got to get there first. And before we get there, we have our second scrimmage of the fall. Heard some good things about the defense last Saturday. Heard some okay things about the offense last Saturday. The good thing is both units play for Texas, right? And so now we have the second scrimmage of the fall tomorrow. And in the first segment, we're going to tell you what we expect to see or hear, like I said, from the scrimmage. So, Lacey, I'm going to let you start off. What are you most intrigued about the scrimmage tomorrow? What are you looking, to see or hear? Just what? Yeah, like all of that. What about the scrimmage tomorrow do you want to hear regarding this football team 2 weeks away from the season?
I want to hear more about the depth in the running back room. Obviously, we know about Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner, but I want to see other running backs taking reps. I know that obviously this close to the season, you want Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner to get those valuable reps and everything like that. But, keep them light, keep them fresh, light contact, easy scrimmage. We know what Jaden Blue is capable of. We've seen him in game. We know what he's capable of. So there's no need to see him go full out, in my opinion, So I think the majority of the reps need to be going to Trey, to Juan Davis, Jarrett Gibson, Ryan Niblett to help with his ball security a little bit. So I really want to hear a lot more about the depth in that running back room, not just Jaden Blue. Another thing that I really want to hear about is that interior D-line rotation, because I was reading through the practice notes and everything like that, and they notated that the base rotation has been Barron Sorrell and Bill Norton, or Jermaine Lole and Alfred Collins, with Trey Moore coming in at Sam. So like the Lole Collins duo is a little bit more intriguing in my opinion, just because Lole, in my opinion, stepped into Austin as one of, if not the best run defenders on the roster. So I'm just really excited to see what he is able to do on the field. And then Alfred Collins, we've seen some promising spurts over the past few years, but I'm just really excited to see him finally, because we've heard very, very good things about Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, both finally really starting to put it together and really starting to show some promise on that interior spot. So I think that's the more intriguing position for me, or the more intriguing combination for me. But I think Barron Sorrell and Bill Norton, just with their experience and everything, might provide a little bit more consistency at that position that you're looking for. So I don't know. I think that's going to be really intriguing to see just which direction they go there. And also just the receiver room. Where the heck is Jonte Cook? I know you kind of brought it up a little bit on Wednesday, and that really got me thinking, and I was really reading through the practice notes and everything, and we haven't heard much about him. You don't hear much about him. There hasn't been much about him in talk of his spot in the rotation at all. Can we put an APB out on him? What is going on? I'm just very, very, very confused. We've been seeing him train with, his trainer all off season and everything like that. So I'm just confused as to why we haven't heard much about him there. And obviously, like I said, Silas Bolden has been brought up multiple times. So I'm just really intrigued to see how he is kind of intermixed in that rotation as well. Because I think Silas Bolden is going to end up being like kind of a Swiss Army knife in that room for us. Just a guy that can plug and play and just go score touchdowns for us. So I'm really intrigued to see what Silas Bolden's able to do. But that's where I'm at. Those are the few little spaces that I really want to look into. What about you? Where's your head at?
Yeah, so first, I just want to say I need to apologize to this brother. I've been calling him Jermaine Lowell all offseason. The reason I've done that is because I don't consume any other content. Like I said, not that it's a bad thing, but I just try to keep my thoughts, right? I feel like if I watch all of Inside Texas YouTube videos, I'll start to talk like them, right? So I had no idea that brother's last name was Lole. You know what I mean? This is why you're here. Iron sharpens iron. So for all the times I've said Jermaine Lowell on this podcast, I apologize, right? That was definitely a revelation moment right there.
I said it like that for a while, so I get it.
Yeah, I apologize to that brother Hookem, right? So I got three things I want to see, right? I want to see a strong performance from the quarterbacks and wide receivers, or at least hear about it, right? Last Saturday, we heard that, Quinn Ewers were struggling even against the twos, right? They said Arch Manning came in and wasn't too hot either, right? Then they talked about how, I think it was on Tuesday's practice, it came out Wednesday, that both quarterbacks were struggling to get the ball down the field. Now, I always say iron sharpens iron. That means that the secondary was really good. But I think this team is going to win games on the offensive side of the ball this year. And I mean, we're in year 4 of Steve Sarkisian. We better be winning games on the offensive side of the ball this year, right? And so I want to see a strong performance from the quarterbacks and the wide receivers, even if it comes at our secondary's expense, right? Because that's Steve Sarkisian's superpower. And when you look at it, they talked about in the scrimmage how in the second half, things started to heat up when the defense was playing more zone coverage, allowing openings in the defense, and Quinn Ewers was picking his spots. That's cool. I'm glad he can do that, right? But what teams are going to do this year, especially Michigan in less than a month, they're going to say, you're not going to run the ball. We're going to play tight man coverage on your receivers outside, and we're going to force Quinn Ewers to beat us, right? And if teams are pressing up on our receivers, if they're playing tight, playing man coverage, that means our receivers are going to have to do a really good job of getting separation, and Quinn Ewers is going to have to make on-time, tight window throws. And it doesn't seem like that's been the case, at least consistently, thus far in the scrimmages and the practices. And you talk to anybody, I've talked to Pro Football Focus a lot. You talk to anybody who has evaluated Quinn Ewers, and that's the biggest thing, the consistency. Against Alabama, he looks all world. Then against Wyoming, he looks like he's a true freshman, right? So it's like, you know what I mean? It's that week in to week out consistency, or even that practice in to practice out consistency with Quinn Ewers, right? I want to hear this Saturday, tomorrow, right? The receivers and the quarterbacks were cooking, right? Because that's what we have not heard consistently throughout the offseason, especially in the last scrimmage. And you only got a couple more scrimmages to figure that out. The second thing is, I'm really intrigued about hearing Cole Hudson was with the ones this week, right? And I know they kind of put out the disclaimer that it could just be Hayden Conner getting some reps at backup center in case something happens. I mentioned it yesterday when Jake Majors went down in that Oklahoma game, our offense took a hit, right? But Cole Hudson is a player that had over 100 pancakes his senior year, dominant senior year before coming to the University of Texas, and started all 13 games his freshman season, right? Before playing in 9 games last year and not starting. There's a lot of talent there, and this staff has a lot of confidence in him. And when I'm looking at this offensive line, obviously Kelvin Banks isn't going anywhere. Jake Majors, Devon Campbell, Cam Williams, they're not going anywhere. But we look at Hayden Conner, and we struggled at times to run the ball up the gut, sometimes because of Hayden Conner. Last year, we had a lot of pre-snap penalties. A lot of those false starts attributed, to Hayden Conner, right? So I think it's more, especially 2 weeks away from the season. I think it's a little bit more than just getting Hayden Conner some reps at backup center. I think they might really be looking at Cole Hudson at left guard. We've always heard, Kyle Flood talking about putting your best 5 offensive linemen on the field. It's not crazy to think that Cole Hudson is one of those 5. So I'm going to be intrigued to see who's with the ones and how they look this Saturday, because I think Cole Hudson is pushing for that left guard spot over Hayden Connor. I don't think it's just about moving guys around and getting more reps at other positions. And the last thing I want to talk about, it's not sexy, but it wins games, special teams, right? We are replacing some ballers at special teams. Of course, we replaced the best hair in the business. I mean, of course, we're bringing back the best hair in the business and Bert Auburn at kicker for sure. Record breaker at the University of Texas, which means a lot because Justin Tucker went here as well, right? But when you look at it, Texas lost an honorable mention all Big 12 punter in Ryan Sanborn. And everything we've heard about this offseason is the punting has not looked great, right? Last year, Ryan Sanborn averaged 45.7 yards per punt, which is 7th all time in Texas Longhorns history. And we've played a lot of football, right? So if you don't have a punter that can pin, the offense deep, that puts more pressure on your defense, ultimately puts more pressure on your offense to score points, right? So we'll see what that looks like, moving forward. Hopefully they can get that down. And then you're also replacing an All-American at punt returner in Xavier Worthy, and then a really good kick returner in Keelan Robinson. We know we can't put Jaden Blue back there right now because of, the depth or lack thereof at running back. And then the primary guys we've kind of heard about being back there are Silas Bolden and DeAndre Moore, but they're also with the ones at the wide receiver position as well, right? So who are going to be our consistent punt returners and kick returners week in and week out, and who is going to be the punter that can step in and be an asset on special teams for this football team? That's what I'm looking to see in the scrimmage tomorrow. Any thoughts on that?
Don't be surprised about Matthew Golden at that returner position. He was one of the best returners in the entire nation last season behind Xavier Worthy. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Matt Golden.
He either had 2 or 3 return touchdowns last year, or maybe in his career. So he's definitely a solid candidate. I know we usually have 2 returners, and so it'd just be interesting to see who those will be, and hopefully that materializes in tomorrow's scrimmage. A quick word from our sponsors, and we have a little fun talking about fall weddings on Saturday when you're supposed to be watching college football. What is your thought process on it? Me and Lacey give our opinions. All right. Today's episode of Locked On Longhorns brought to you by FanDuel. All right. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to, but FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and whatever you like to bet on. All right, Lacey. So I am not sure why this has been a huge topic on the socials. I've seen it been brought up before, but it seems like, this offseason or right now it's just overkill. And there's just been a constant discussion about the etiquette of fall weddings, right? And how that affects college football fans. So, I'm going to let you go first because I've seen so many different takes of like, bro, it's a wedding. Like, come on, like you can sacrifice one Saturday to people saying my friends know not to invite me to a Saturday wedding because I won't come, right? So I've seen everything from this extreme to this extreme. What are your thoughts on weddings occurring on Saturdays during college football season?
So I have a little bit of a unique experience because I had a fall wedding. So spoiler alert, I am married since divorced. So there's that little nugget. But besides the point, I had a fall wedding, October 19th, 2019, Texas versus Kansas in Austin. Texas wins by 2. So I'm gonna be real honest, not only that was just a bad day for the wedding, obviously, and it ended in divorce for a reason. And then, you beat Kansas by 2 at home. That's not love. Don't love that. So, I mean, like I to this day have not watched that game, and I probably never will just because why would I? Why would I? But all the discussions around the fall weddings has just been very, very interesting to me because it was definitely a discussion because, my family is big into sports. My dad, diehard sports fan, the entire reason that I'm a big football fan. Our entire family, I have a lot of family friends that are diehard Longhorn fans as well. So the entire day I was just walking around. I had multiple people that I could go up to and be like, hey, what's the score? Hey, what's the score? Hey, what's the score? So like, I think, I mean, it really just depends on, I'm one of those people that I definitely see both sides, because at the point that I'm at now, as at the grown age that I am now, I wouldn't have a fall wedding just because I like my Saturdays. I like my football Saturdays. I like being able to go down Bevo Boulevard and go and hang out with 100,000 of my besties at DKR. You know, I love being able to do that. So like, or even just having barbecues at the house, hanging out with friends, you know, stuff like that. So I enjoy my Saturdays in the fall whenever it comes to football season and everything like that. So like, as much as I understand where people are coming from with don't have fall weddings and everything like that, if you don't want to go, don't go. If you want to go, go. Like, nobody's saying you can or can't go. And I promise you, the bride, unless you're a mother, brother, or child, or immediate family, you know what I mean, unless you're one of them, the bride don't care. They're not going to remember every single face that was at their wedding day. I don't remember half the people that were at my wedding. There are so many bits and pieces that you just don't remember about your wedding day just because there's so much going on. So honestly, I hate to sit here and make it seem like they're not going to miss you, but they ain't going to miss you. Like, sorry, go to your football game, go watch your game, mind your business, do what you want to do. If you want to go to the wedding, go to the wedding. If you don't want to go to the wedding, don't go to the wedding. I can definitely understand both perspectives, though. It's not really, I think it's a crazy conversation to have, honestly. I think holding your family members or friends to expectations just because you love football and you love sports is where the problem kind of lies. So I think it's all about respect, but that's just me. I don't really care either way, honestly.
Right. You know, I don't understand why it's a conversation either. You know, I don't want to, you know, disrespect anybody that's listening. You know what I mean? I don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, of course, right? But like, it's a wedding, bro. Like, we're comparing weddings, supposed to be once in a lifetime moment. I understand people get divorced, right? But you're not thinking of that at the time of the wedding, to a college football game or a college football Saturday. And chances are, in terms of the wedding and the reception, you're probably going to miss one set of games, right? If that, even if you miss the Texas Longhorns game, like Ian Boyd said, like from Inside Texas, I was a groomsman on the day of the Red River shootout. Like, did I complain a little bit? Yes. Did I still go to the wedding and fulfill my duties? Of course. And like Lacey said, if you're supposed to be in the wedding, like if you're supposed to be there, then you're going to be there no matter what. Outside of that, it's whatever. I saw somebody make an argument that the wedding is more about the guest anyway. Is it? Like what? Like who? What? Like how? I mean,
I'll be honest. My wedding was. I'm be real honest. My wedding was, but that I think that's just how my wedding ended up, not necessarily how it's supposed to be. Like, obviously, it's supposed to be about the bride and the groom and their day and celebrating them and everything. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, like I mean, I guess, you know what I mean? You want to make sure your guests have a good time, but the weddings definitely is about the two people getting married.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like those two people should have to gauge when they should have their like the only decision that goes into when their wedding should be is when is the best date for those two people to get married, right? It should not be like, well, damn, what if my friends want to watch the Texas game? So, you know what I mean? Like, and I guess it, you know, it goes by case basis, but like I said, we're talking about a special union of a lifetime. We're talking about a once in a lifetime event, a wedding, right? And just to not be able to separate college football from that, or not be able to go to a wedding or complain about a wedding because you're going to miss college football, I just think is a little misguided, right? You know what I mean? Like, I just think that's a little misguided to me. Like, we should want to celebrate love. We should want to celebrate our people. There's so many options in 2024 to be able to go and watch the game after. I understand it's not the same, but also missing a wedding because of college football, to me, just doesn't make a ton of sense, right? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, go celebrate your people, right? Like, go love on your people. These 20-year-olds will be playing football the next Saturday as well, right? Like, you can continue, you know, to watch them then. So, you know, I understand, you know, that people don't want to sacrifice their Saturdays, but, you know, there's people that have kids that have to sacrifice their Saturdays to go out and put them in sports and different things like that. Like, it just happens, right? The world, you know, you will be okay. The world moves on. And like Lacey said, if you just don't want to go, then just don't go, right? If you want to choose a football game over the wedding, then just don't go. But all these rants on social media, all of this, they shouldn't have put it on this day, whatever.
It's so weird.
The wedding is about the two people getting married. Now, I do have one caveat. Because I can see both sides as well. This year on October 12th, if there was a wedding I was supposed to be at, I would not be there because we have Texas versus Oklahoma, Ohio State versus Oregon, Ole Miss versus LSU, and Penn State versus USC, among some other games. But those are 4 elite games on October 12th. So, I think any other day, if your friend, anybody you know is getting married, go support your people, go love on your people. College football will be there before and after. But October 12th, 2024, Jonathan Davis will not be at a wedding.
No.
I'll be parked on that couch watching college football.
Well, and a lot of people don't actually understand that, some wedding venues and everything book up years in advance. Some there are wedding venues that you have to book your wedding venue over a year out. So sometimes, depending on the dates and stuff that they have available, you're very, very limited in the dates that you pick. It's not even necessarily like this is the date that I want to get married. It's what the dates the venue has available. So it's like, you're really putting people in a really tough predicament in that situation. If you're going to be like, you can't ruin my football Saturdays, it's like, okay, well, I'll just go get married by myself then. Have fun. Like
I said, the theme here is just love on your people, appreciate your people, and celebrate those big moments. If somebody is, trusting you, if somebody wants you there to see them get married, and the worst case scenario is you miss Texas football game or, a college football game at 12 or 2:30, I promise you will be all right. And I promise you what means probably a little bit more is the fact that you showed up for that person, even though you could have been anywhere else in the world. All right, a quick word from our sponsors. And then we talk about 5 Texas Longhorns being on ESPN's top 100 heading into the season. Today's episode of Locked On Longhorns also brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Priority last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. The zone deals, you can save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. All in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, but make sure you click the all in pricing option to see that. Seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, and the lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Forgot to go to the solo screen on that one. I'm still learning, you know what I mean? I'm still learning how to, do all the ads and stuff, with a co-host. Okay, Lacey. So ESPN just dropped their top 100 list a few weeks ahead of the season. Top 100 players. I have to admit, I liked Pro Football Focus's list a little bit more. It's sad. ESPN, when I was growing up, they were the standard, and now it feels like that's the last place you want to go for anything, reputable in terms of sports. But when we're looking at it, they did put 5 players in the top 100, so I can't talk too much about ESPN. Yeah. Kelvin Banks coming in at number 9, Quinn Ewers coming in at number 23, Trey Moore coming in at number 49, Anthony Hill Jr. coming in at number 64, and then Isaiah Bond coming in at number 86. Lacey, what are your thoughts on 5 players being in the ESPN's top 100, or thoughts, as a whole, or any players you thought should have been in there that weren't, players too low, players too high? What are your thoughts?
I had that reaction that you did where, ESPN's just, it does kind of feel like ESPN's gone a little downhill. I'm not going to lie. Not that they've gone downhill. I don't want to sit and say that, but it's just like they're not the top of the game anymore. They're not the pinnacle of the sport anymore, which is weird. But
let me say this real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I'm saying? Shout out to my brother RG3. He did not deserve to get fired from ESPN. He's one of the best people on the network, and he's definitely going to land on his feet soon. There's more credence to ESPN not being the standard it was when I grew up.
RG3 was one of my favorite commentators. Anytime he was, covering Texas games and everything like that. He covered Texas spring game. I think it was last year. And I've always really enjoyed his commentating, but, anyways, one of the more intriguing ones was Trey Moore. Obviously, none of the other guys really shocked me. If we're being completely honest, I think I expected Isaiah Bond to be a little bit higher, but Trey Moore was really, really intriguing just because not only was he on the list, and like, I know the expectations that we have for him just because we know what he's done at UTSA and everything like that. You know, AAC Defensive Player of the Year last year, All-American, you know, really, really, really solid at that edge position. But I think with him being at that, with him not achieving that at the power 4 position or at the power 4 level just yet, it's just something that I feel like people would question a little bit more. I don't know if that's come because of the reports and stuff that have been coming in, because we've been hearing such great things about Trey Moore. Obviously, you know, what he's done at UTSA is going to follow him and everything like that. But I think that kind of shocked me a little bit more, is just him being ahead of Anthony Hill Jr. And that one is what really, really shocked me. I think I just expected Trey to be a little bit, if he was going to be in this top 100, I expected him to be more of at that Isaiah Bond. I think Isaiah was at like 89, you said?
86.
86. So I think I expected him to be in that, like, I would expect him to be in that lower half, just because, like I said, we've seen what he can do at a G5 level, but what can you do at the Power 5 level? How is that going to translate into the SEC? So that one shocked me a little bit, but other than that, the rankings seemed pretty standard to me. Obviously, Kelvin Banks is going to be number 1 on the list. Quinn, like I said, it made a lot of sense to me, if we're being completely honest.
So I already got Max Chadwick on this from Pro Football Focus. You're next. We are transitioning from Power 5 to Core 4, right? It just rolls off the tongue. We are transitioning from Power 5 to Core 4, all right? No Power 4, Power 5, Core 4. We are the Core 4 now, right? All right, there we go.
Okay.
So my thoughts looking at this list, you know, obviously I didn't have a ton of problems with it. You know, I'm Anthony Hill's biggest fan, or at least one of them, probably outside of his immediate family. So I think 64 is low, but, you know, I mean, he was kind of a utility player last year, and he wasn't necessarily a starter at linebacker. So I'm fine with 64. I think, you know, going into next year, there's no question in my mind he'll be a top 20, top 25 player in the country by every metric. Thing is, I look at Isaiah Bond and I just wonder, right? And I would have to see how the list was formatted. Is this based on just last season, or is this projections going into this season, right? Because how could the number 1 option in Steve Sarkisian's offense be the 86th best player in the country when we're talking about the potential of this offense being the best in the nation, right? You think the number 1 wide receiver in Steve Sarkisian's offense is going to be the 86th best player? And if this is only based on last year where he had 668 yards, then why is it coming out 2 weeks before the season, right? So neither one of those makes sense, right? And even if it was just based off of last year, when you watched him convert that 4th and 31 in the Iron Bowl, you thought to yourself there were 85 players in the country better than him? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't get why Isaiah Bond is so low, regardless of what the criteria is. You have to wonder where Cedric Baxter would be on the list without the season-ending injury. Of course, he'd be one of the best 100 players in the country. And Jaden Blue, right? You know, obviously, I think Texas fans have, you know, more of an affinity for Jaden Blue than the rest of the country. They'll find out soon, you know, but I don't think there's 100 players in the country better than Jaden Blue. And once again, if we're basing it off this season, right, Cedric Baxter is not on the list. So obviously it came out after the injury. You know, Jaden Blue is now the number 1 running back in Steve Sarkisian's system, a system that has produced a 1,000-yard rusher every year since he was at Washington. So how is Jaden Blue, a player that got up to a top speed of 22.7 miles per hour last year, fastest in the country, number 1 running back in Steve Sarkisian's system, behind a possible Joe Moore award-winning offensive line? I'm preaching right now, and it's not Sunday.
Hey, I love it, though.
Jaden Blue not on the top 100 players, right? So I don't mean to be the Texas fan and be like, oh, we only had 5, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, you know, 5 out of 100 is still really good, but I think Anthony Hill is still too low. They're asleep. They'll wake up soon. Isaiah Bond is criminally low, but they'll see. And Jaden Blue should be in the top 100 players on this list, bar none. And yeah, I guess that's it, right? Thank you for tuning into another episode of Locked On Longhorns, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Enjoy your weekend. We are getting closer and closer to Texas Longhorns football and college football Saturdays. And I hope and I pray that you don't have any weddings to go to, especially on October 12th. Hook 'em. Peace.